welcome to another edition of the NexCare WellBridge Senior Living Conversation. I'm Kyle Bogenschutz and pleased to be here in Brighton, Michigan at the headquarters of NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. Another great conversation, a lot of different subjects to get into, and we're very pleased to be welcomed by the new Vice President of Operations for NexCare WellBridge Senior Living, Mr. Joe Carpino. If you've seen the social media posts and some of the buzz that's been out there about Joe, certainly looking forward to finding out more about his journey and what he will bring to the table here at NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. Appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Excited to be here. Really, truly excited.
So let's start at least with the process of, a little bit of your background, where you come from, some of the things that you've done throughout your career, in the medical field, and then we can kind of work up to the epic culture that Mike and his team have created here with NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. But if we can go back, and then we'll go forward.
Well, if we go way back, I'm from Ohio originally, so don't hold that against me. That's why I'm in Michigan. Ohio was where I was born and raised. Went to small school in West Virginia for my undergraduate in psychology. Decided to try something different. Moved out of state, went to Florida, Miami, Florida, for my master's in social work. From there, in 2000, is where I graduated. I got into mental health and hospice work. Did that for a couple of years. Decided to move back up north. Crazy enough to say, hey, I missed the snow and the weather, but I'm a guy from the Midwest, so I needed to get back up north. So in order to do that, sent out some resumes. Sent one to Michigan, and I got hired as a social worker, as a director of social services for the Legacy HCR Manor Care, and I was hired in 2002. And from there, I learned from some real wonderful mentors in my career that showed me the ropes of becoming a nursing home administrator. And that's sort of the beginning of my career. In 2004, I became licensed as a nursing home administrator. So
from there, I guess, because there's a lot of buzz, there was a post that was put out on LinkedIn, and if you aren't following NexCare WellBridge Senior Living, please make sure you do on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can listen to the entire NexCare WellBridge Senior Living conversations. But how did you go about building your reputation from 2004 now to here we are in 2022, and you are the new VP of Operations and joining, an already great team here at NexCare WellBridge?
That's a great question. For me, it's all about relationships. Everything that I've done, personally and professionally, really boils down to having good relationships with people. Not only you have to be honest with yourself when you have a good relationship, but you have to be open to change, open to criticism, open to learn new things, and open to work collaboratively with others. And I really believe that made a big difference in laying the foundation for my professional career, is having good relationships, people I could rely on and work together with.
This is a field, nursing care, long-term, short-term, whatever it might be, that you can't learn everything, by going to school. I do think there's a different level, just in my short experience and being around it. And certainly I've had grandparents who have been, in these situations. I feel like if you're going to be an employee, a team member that is well regarded, you have to have that extra level of care. You have to have that extra level of building a relationship, like you said. How important has that been? And is that one of the things maybe that drew you into wanting to do this and wanting to continue on really over the last 20 years?
Most definitely. You can't make people care. And I tell that to the staff when I hire them or the people that I meet. You either got it or you don't. And you're drawn to this industry. I've seen the most successful administrators, it's their family business. Others, it was their first job and they fell in love with it, whether it's the kitchen or the housekeeping service, environmental services, for me, social work. You fall in love with it and you want to give back. And I truly do care about everything that goes on in the industry. Whether it's giving a new employee some opportunity of a lifetime, or seeing a resident admitted in a gurney, right? And then they walk out of your building because of the success of your staff. That to me means everything. It means everything. You have to care.
See, that's one of the things that, I think is, has really opened my eyes, in all honesty, just, being a friend, partner with NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. Everyone has this idea in their head that, a nursing home, it's it's quiet, it's maybe a little depressing. There is that outside view, when in reality you go into some of these facilities and you see the beautiful buildings, all of the amenities, everything that is out there, but B, you see incredible workers, incredible people taking care of these residents and trying to bring them to life, have engaging activities, life enrichment activities, whatever it may be. That is one of the things that, just being around it has really opened my eyes. And I got to believe that that's something that, you work every single day to almost change that narrative where, no, this isn't just about, this is where you're going to go and, we'll see what happens in a few months. No, let's get active. Let's do things. Let's live life. And that's got to be incredibly rewarding.
It is. It's about having our residents get back to their life. It's having them, find a way to live in this new world order, this new normal, if you will. And it's really about giving back, making sure your staff know, everything about the resident, their individual, needs and wants. And it really all boils down to someone who cares, and that's what matters. And NexCare WellBridge has all of the right ingredients with the staff who care, and you can tell. When I started, only a short few weeks ago, I was welcomed really in an overwhelming way that I didn't even. I'm speechless in a lot of ways. Everyone has been terrific, and I'm really excited to be part of the team.
Before we get into, the transition, joining the team here and coming on, what were some of the highlights, I guess, throughout your career over the last, 18 years, in this field? Have there been, you don't have to single out a certain resident family or anything like that, but, the list of accomplishments in your career, I got to believe there are certain things that stand out above others and things that just really fill you with as much pride as possible.
Sure. I like sports analogies. I'm a big Steelers fan, so I like to say that I'm battle tested. I've been in 5-star facilities and I've been in 1-star facilities. I've had a perfect survey and I've had, jeopardies. I've had all the different experiences that, sometimes you don't want to have to be proud of at all, but it's important to say that you have that experience. But the most memorable, obviously, is starting up a building from the ground up, opening a building in Sterling Heights, seeing its expansion. That is probably, it's really a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I'll never forget. And I think that took me to the next level in my professional career. And I really believe that the relationships really started to spin off from there because there was a lot of exposure. As Mike knows, we were, building buildings at the same time. He was building Romeo and I was building Sterling Heights, and we were, friendly competition back and forth between, who's going to open first and who's going to have the best outcomes. And it's exciting for us. And I think that that's probably the most memorable.
So in transitioning, I guess, to the opportunity, to join the team here at NexCare WellBridge Senior Living, what enticed you about it? What was the relationship and dynamic like, I guess, at that time between you and you mentioned Mike, obviously Mike Perry, the CEO. When did that get to a point where it said, Joe, this makes sense. This is something I really want to take advantage of and ultimately take?
That is a really a question that comes to me in the heart, because I'm looking forward to having an opportunity where I can work a little more closely in an operational level, more on an intimate level, with a group of people who are in the trenches with the residents. They can speak to the day-to-day operations. And anyone who knows Mike and Heather know that they are in the day-to-day operations. They understand. They understand what an administrator's life is like, kitchen staff member's life is like, housekeepers, the direct care staff, the residents who need care in this new world order. I felt really drawn to their ability to operate and to provide care at the same level of excellence, and it truly impressed me. And Mike and I have been having some discussions in the last few years to join the team. It just wasn't the right time for me. But there's been some recent changes that I personally took a risk on and took advantage of, and it gave me the opportunity of a lifetime.
When it comes to recruiting and finding a team, to work with and supervise to a certain degree, how important do you think that is that, you, Mike, Heather, you mentioned, literally do the work, have done it, understand everything that goes into it? Because to me, I want to see a boss, manager, whatever it might be, that is willing to just roll the sleeves up and do dishes, whatever
Sure.
it takes to make sure that that building is successful and that residents are as happy as possible. How vital do you think that is?
It's everything, and that's an easy question to answer. It makes me think of a dear friend of mine who I've worked very closely with, who said, "Likes hire likes." That's really the secret to success in any business. If you have a personality that gravitates others to work for you, you're going to hire those who have that same ability. And I believe that that's certainly something Mike and I have in common. I'd like to believe is that it's important to build those relationships and get the best out of your employees and your patients and families.
Now that we are in 2022, don't necessarily want to look back on 2020 and 2021, and we all know how difficult and challenging, and I think how much it's really shaped how healthcare is going to change moving forward and everything that we have going on. So I guess for you, from the recruiting standpoint, from the hiring standpoint, how have you seen a shift in workforce, in looking for team members that maybe are a good fit? What has that challenge been like, I guess, over the first couple of weeks, essentially, on the job here?
You have to be the first to win the race. There's a lot of providers looking for the same things we're looking for. So it's about really getting that quick turnover, that quick turnaround and bringing in your staff. You want to say yes as soon as you can and take risk on someone who's never been in the industry, someone who's going to need, obviously, some coaching, some educational assistance. So it's really about who wins that race first when it comes to getting your staff and being aggressive on that front. And you can't sit back and think it's going to come to you. You have to go out and get it, and you have to sell it to your staff. And for NexCare WellBridge Senior Living, selling our services, from what I've seen, really boils down to how they treat their employees, how leadership treats their employees, how the resources are available really at the local level. And for me, it's probably the closest thing that I've ever been to self-employed in my life, to be quite honest. It's really a family-owned business. And I think that's a big sell to the employees, because there's really a direct line between the employee and the decision maker. Support
is the word that really comes to mind for me.
No doubt.
You're not just going to throw people out there and figure it out, without actually having a conversation and having an understanding of what needs to be accomplished, what the tasks are, what the expectations are. I got to believe that's huge for new employees, for people who maybe this is their first position in a field like this. As much training as maybe they had done before and as much schooling as they had gotten, this is still a new environment. It's a new culture. It's a new company, and you have a certain way of doing things. But the support that I think management and the team provides for new employees, it really stands out amongst other competition.
It does, and it's the training programs are realistic, attainable, structured, with the employee in mind, the new hire in mind, and it's something that it's working, and I'm excited to see more and more of that coming to us. It's one of the focuses is obviously we're building back our culture, our business to where it once was, and we all want to get back to pre-pandemic life, and that's the foundation is earning trust. Employees need to earn the trust of us to provide a good, safe, healthy working environment, and that's what it's going to take, that trust. Then you build back your workforce, which builds back your census.
Normalcy is obviously something I think everyone.
we're all tired of the world that we live in now, that we like to call it the past, if that's something we could say at some point. But I know about you, but for me, I want to get my life back. I want my kids to have their life back. I want to get my life back with my family, and just move on.
Well, it's two-pronged too. Especially in this environment, this industry. It's certainly employees, and you want to make sure your team members are feeling safe, feeling supported. All those things are incredibly important. The other side of it is also the resident experience and the residents' families who, have been restricted, had to deal with a lot of the measures that have been thrown down by state, federal, governments. So I guess how do you go about, how motivating really is that to get the residents back out and moving and experiencing community events and things going on in the building, in addition to certainly, employees making sure that they feel comfortable as well.
Being the provider of choice is what comes to mind with the beautiful amenities that all the WellBridge locations have. It really truly is with the private rooms and the bistros that we're going to get back into business. And it's exciting, and that's what our consumers want. That's what the families want, and the residents want. They want state-of-the-art facilities. They want to have their privacy. They want to have the hospitality feel in the healthcare world. That's what they're looking for, and they don't expect to spend months on end in the skilled rehab. They want to get back home, and so we streamline the process as the insurance companies expect to get them back to their life in 14 to 16 days.
How important do you think it's going to be for families to have as much access as humanly possible here over the next several months? It really seems like there has been certainly some restrictive issues, and I can understand and relate to how frustrating that may have been for all these different families who are entrusting you and trusting the employees here at NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. What has the experience been like that, just talking to some of the families over the last few months and trying to get back to that word we just used, normalcy?
Right. I think they're a lot more cooperative now and understanding, the families are, and they're prepared to do what's necessary to stay safe, to follow the rules and regulations, whether it's the screening process, visitation, and it's all at this point now where it's open. We were happy to have that play out that way, and the families are cooperative. They're just as ready as we are.
What are some of the goals that you personally want to bring to the table here? Obviously, it's a new position. You have a relationship with Mike. You're familiar with the company in general, but I got to believe there's some things that really just come to your mind that you pinpoint and say, in the next 3 months, I really want to emphasize this. In the next 6 months, this. By next year at this time, I'd love to be here. What are some of those things that you really are intrigued by and want to bring to the table?
Well, I think the first 3 months really is getting to know the lay of the land and the importance of each market and how it's different. And then instilling, my skill sets into each market to help build their cultures. The census culture is what's important. The communication and teamwork between all 8 locations, and I'd like to be able to provide that support that's needed out there for each of the locations, and to help develop each administrator who's may have some experience only by a couple of years. If there's anything I can do to help support them in their role and really truly be a mentor to them, but also be the provider of choice to provide excellent customer service, care that is top notch, that the hospitals are going to say, you're going to want your loved one to go to WellBridge because those folks don't come back with complaints, or they're very satisfied, and we ease the placement to a place that we trust. So I look forward to that in the next 6 months, is to earn that trust to all the, certainly the local discharge planners, the hospital systems, so that they can feel comfortable and confident knowing that all they have to do is make that one referral. And then the only time they hear back is when they hear something good, the thank yous. So it's the lead base following through with the great experiences the patients and families have had.
As a recent addition to the team, if you had to speak to somebody who's maybe right this second, has an application in or is considering, joining NexCare WellBridge Senior Living, what would you say, even just in a couple of weeks now, on the job, what would you say to those individuals as far as why they should want to join the Epic team here?
They truly live by the Epic philosophy. The staff member will be treated as a professional from start to finish. That relationship will only get better. It won't change negatively over time. It will grow positively, and you'll be welcomed all the way through. And they will certainly be someone who will be tenured, because it speaks to the volume of their amount of employees that stay, that grow within the organization, and they don't look back. There's upward mobility for them.
Well, I would say if there's anything else that maybe you wanted to add that we didn't touch on, certainly feel free. The floor is yours. I usually do this with Mike at the end of the conversations. But if there's anything else you want to emphasize just about, whether it's you, whether it's the team here, whether it's the facilities, leadership, whatever it may be, if there's anything you just want to touch on to finish out here, please, the floor is yours.
That's a big question. For me, in my position, I've worked very, very hard to get to this point, to want to make a difference. How can I make a difference? The regulatory environment has never been tougher. And there needs to be an agent of change in a positive light. If there's anything I could add to my experience, is what can we do, what can I do to help ease the pressures off the locations to make a better regulatory environment outcome for the locations so that we can get back to basics, get through your surveys, get through having business as usual and not having to worry about, what's the next regulatory problem we're going to have. We need to find a way to get through it. That means working together with our local legislatures. That means getting in front of the right decision makers. I do want to put some extra effort into really putting my time and effort into what's going to make a difference in making that agent of change. It really has to start, at the political level, and that's something that I'm willing to throw my hat in the ring and get involved with. It's needed, and we need to speak up as providers, and we need to get back to taking care of our residents and employees, and not, really living in angst about, what's the next regulatory, distraction, which, we all want to just move forward. And the regulators would like it too. They wouldn't like to have to come to these buildings, and do all these surveys and visits. So we need to find a way to get some common ground, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Well, an excellent way to finish. Time used very wisely right there, even though it was a loaded question. There's a lot that you can get into there, certainly. But congratulations, Joe Carpino, the new VP of Operations for NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. And again, appreciate everyone listening, watching. If you can, subscribe to the YouTube channel, NexCare WellBridge Senior Living. And of course, there'll be many more conversations to come here.
Thank you.